Hello everyone, welcome to the Advancement Centre and welcome to the world of magic and miracles. Once again we invite you to join us on the elevated platform of living where all the world relies on magic and miracles. Where you can look down at everything and see it in a different light because you're looking through that world of magic and miracles. As we elevate ourselves each week a little bit further above even the magic and miracles, we start to feel our own independent selves. And we feel the elegance of that being that is much bigger than anything we can possibly imagine. In addition to that, we're starting to see with a set of eyes that are not the visual. We're starting to see one another in a different light. And we can see the glow in each one's eyes and around them and the projection that's coming from everyone. As we interact, we feel we are enhancing ourselves and the other person and many others by the interaction of our field rather than the interaction of our physical being. Our field is physical, but it's not as visible unless you see it through somebody else's eyes. And that's how you see the immenseness of your being as you present your gifts to one another in the elegance and honor that you remember from your origin. So where we're about to go from here is a little bit like a mystery or a mystery story. But in fact, it's more solid than anything we've ever experienced in our life. It's more solid than the invisible wall you run into each time something goes wrong. It's more solid than knowing that somebody is in the room that shouldn't be there, that something is not as it should be or is better than what you can absolutely prove. As we're feeling our lives in such a different way, we can relate to the several occasions in our lives where absolute miracles have happened to us. And all of a sudden, you start to see that everywhere around you, those miracles are happening. Where you can know what's coming next, but not really have a statement to describe it. Your recognition of a person, a place, a sound, or an event as something totally beyond what you would normally expect in the world is now common. And we're walking the streets with a smile on our face because we only connect with those who want to connect with us. Our control systems are so finely tuned that without taking any notice at all, we can have those who light up in our eyes appear one after the other in a crowd of people that we've never met before. We can look into anything we like and discover everything that's there for us. And we can decipher many of the things, the feelings, and the events that have never been recorded before. You can hear something and say, that's only partly true. And you know you're correct. Your system is becoming so finely tuned, it's becoming comfortable, which is the opposite to what the martial arts have shown everybody. They finally tune themselves until they're totally uncomfortable. And they respond and react to a set of rules. You are so finely tuned, you have no rules. And you don't react. You wait for the signal to come, and you don't put it through your head. And you allow your being to respond to that signal. And because that is growing more and more, you don't have to live what they used to call emotions. Because in fact, the emotions that are defined are emotional reactions. And it's really important that you understand that at this time. Because without that reaction, your being goes into a different state and enables you to communicate with the interface that you have with the universe and with that special part of you that adjusts everything the way it's supposed to be. You can see people dive into freezing water and then just get on and swim and enjoy themselves. But if you do the same and you scream or shiver or react, you've turned off that system that adjusts your interface with that cold water, and you experience cold. But if you allow your body that moment to update, it updates and handles that cold and you don't feel it. It's the same with hot. It's the same with anything that comes to you that you call emotion. You don't know what it's supposed to connect to because it doesn't go through your head. So that redirection of that bulk of the unknown into a formula that's called emotions, an emotional reaction, is what's stopping you from living a perfect life the way you did when you were a child. We're about to impart on something that's never been attempted before. And that is to allow you to feel and use the interface with your, I suppose you'd call it, personal supercomputer that's normally only visible in the flash of an eye when something drastic happens. When you're about to fall off your bicycle, that moment where everything slows down, stops, and allows you to perform something you've never performed before and somehow end up on your feet. When you're about to have a collision and it doesn't happen. When out of nowhere, a solution comes to what you thought was a problem, and it's totally different to what you would have done. All these things and many, many thousands more are what we're about to be able to access through a different system that belongs to us. For many years, there's been studies on the nervous system, and all the solutions that have been brought forward are new every day, because they're always attempting to solve a problem, and there's not a problem. The nervous system doesn't connect to the conscious part of your brain. It doesn't operate by thought. It operates by itself. and the many inputs and outputs to various parts of your body and the senses around you. And if you look at all the solutions that have been successful, they all come down to they only work at the time when the person is satisfied that they have the cure, and then they fix themselves. They get over it, they get better, they make themselves well. And they have something to hang their hat on and say, oh, lucky this happened in my life because I wouldn't have been able to fix it otherwise. But in fact, it was just a short-term crutch to allow them to change the whole system themselves. So with that in mind, you can parallel that with the inputs and outputs into the universe and back to your origin, into the play world, into the world of fantasy, the dimensions of the birds, the fairies, the magic, the Tinkerbell sparkles that were all attractive to you as a child. All those things are real. They are your tools. They are the tools that allowed you to figure out how to walk, to smile, to laugh, to be happy, to enhance the people around you, to give you control of your life when you were less than 3-year-old. They were the tools that supported your well-being. Your well-being is not just based on what you own and what you eat. It's based on what you experience and what you're willing to experience. And as you grow into the world that we've been used to, you've gradually stepped into a darker place where your control system has a lot of trouble working. And so that special part of you that you so dearly loved when you're small is not available. And so we're going to open it up again. If you just think of how the special thoughts and the special beings that were around you were presented as fairy tales, but in fact, to you, they were real. In fact, that control system that belongs to the access to your tools, to your fantasies, was taken over by the word fantasy and used as production to control you out of where you were as a child. And I always talk about how a child is so happy to be a fairy, to have a wand, to play with any of the mystical beings. And they know exactly what to do. You don't have to teach them. They want a fairy dress on, and you didn't have to teach them. The girl says, I want pink, and you didn't have to teach her. But you try and change her mind. She knows. We didn't come up with pink and blue for boys and girls. They came up with it themselves. And so the ability that I'm talking about for your future is like the ability to calm your nerves. You can do it in so many different ways, but the only way that works is the way that it works for you. You can access the part of you that creates perfection, not just in your life, but in everybody else's life. Just like the brilliant smile of a young baby, the welcoming feeling that you get comes from their exotic being that still exists in you. And the recognition is the recognition of that exotic being. So to be aware of the fact that you can stir up all the nerves in your body by being agitated gives you an opening into the fact that you can't take over that process. It has to operate by itself. And if you're patient enough to let it operates perfectly. If you're patient enough to stop that agitated vibration by just allowing yourself to not be involved, then you'll see it will react immediately and it will change the whole condition of your nervous system. If you've ever played with feedback, biofeedback, resistive feedback, or anything onto a computer, you'll see that you can have a set of numbers from 1 to 10 or whatever you like. And it's the reading of maybe resistance of your fingers. You give it to a child and say, I want you to put a number 6 up there. They'll just wait until it happens. Because they do have control of their resistivity. I used to demonstrate to my mother, I could change her heartbeat monitor. I'd just say, give me a number, and it would change to that number. And to a blood pressure. So I said, you know, use it as an indicator to allow the automatic part of your being to do its job. And it took her a long time, but after a while, she didn't need the monitor. She didn't need the blood pressure test all the time. She could tell you how she was going. And it would change. You only had to ask, so what's your blood pressure now? She'd say, oh, it's a little bit high. Said, okay, well, read the right figure. Within minutes, she was in really good condition. So from young and old, it's all possible. All you need is an indicator. And the indicator for us is everybody we look at, everything we look at. If it doesn't look right, change, and it will. Like if you've got the number 8 up and you need the number 6, you just wait, see the number 6 for a little while, it'll be there. And it'll stay there. And then after a while, you can get a child to put the probes down and you can say, now give me a number 7 and don't touch the probes. And they'll do that as well. So as your system finds an interface with anything, it gradually gives you the opportunity to interface with it in a whole different way than with the brain as we know it now. So where we're looking is into something brilliant, but it's not how do I do it thing. It's gentle, it's unique, it's soft. And you need the realization that it's as fragile as a young child. And their capability to do things depends largely on your acceptance of that fragility and the gentleness that's needed to allow them to coax themselves to that magnificence that we all know. Where I'm trying to take everyone is to that point where they can see that they're more than just an ordinary being. And you don't have to see it in your head. You only need one example that says to your mind, well, I suppose it's okay to go and look at that. Then all of a sudden you don't have the big brick wall that says, that's not right. That can't be right. Can't do that. It says, I'm interested. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm interested. And that's all it takes for you to reintroduce the world of fantasy, the characters and cartoons, the world of stories, the beautiful adventures in simple stories that you've known since you were a child, the stories that you made up, of the beauty of worlds that aren't from here, and the ease with which you can speak and never, ever be concerned at any reaction. Up until the age of 3, there's no such thing as reaction for most children. We can prove that there are all sorts of deficiencies and things that cause problems. But if a child is accepted into the world, whatever comes into that world will change to match the total vision of their being. It's been the habit of lots of people to not let that happen. And so you get all sorts of different reactions. But if that's allowed to happen, there's a happy child, even if their health is not as good as what you think it should be. I was talking to Barbara the other day and we talked about Down syndrome children. And I said, have another look. They're the happiest kids you know. Maybe you should call it an up syndrome, because they don't have anything but the beauty of the being that's in them. And they're really excited and happy about that. They may not be able to formulate things in the way we do, but as a human being, they display attributes that we would love to have. So now that gentleness is very important. Gentleness of yourself, of everyone around you, of the events. Because you're about to be able to reach out with something that you're really not sure of right now and touch everyone and everything. Touch them in a way that it doesn't even disturb their feelings. It enhances everything around them and everything in them. And it disturbs nothing. But at the same time, it will disturb every moment of everybody's life, because it's a field. It's an active field, and it's able to do things that you have not looked at yet. And it's not just about people. It's about everything and everyone, about the world, the environment, the universal connection, and those that you can't see. And they'll come into your life and dance with you. And you'll be excited about every moment, no matter what you're doing. So I encourage you all to just take on the fact that there's something much, much bigger than anything you've attempted before And all you have to do is head towards simplicity and the childlike nature that's inside you. And do not even be concerned about disturbance. Because if you follow your spirit, like you see a child do, it's like that spirit runs in front of them and changes direction, and they just follow. That's actually what's happening. You can do the same, and you will love life, enjoy everybody and everything, and you'll run against nothing. And the essence of the world, as we know it now, will change without you thinking about it. There's a knowing within all of us that this is correct. No one's ever attempted to gather up the necessary components to allow us to actually move into that field and do exactly what was meant, and that's to play in it, to enjoy it, to love in it, to enhance it, to get it to do brilliant things, and to allow us to work beyond technology for the rest of our lives. I seem to have attracted many flies all of a sudden, and that's that disturbance I'm talking about. We will be disturbed so that we can change direction all the time, not lock onto anything, and really have a beautiful time because of the total variance of every moment. I'll be talking more about this in the future, but when and how, I don't know. Because like you, I'll be following my spirit to wherever it takes me, every moment of every day, and I'll be producing whatever comes naturally. And I've found that what comes naturally always impresses me, always better than anything I've ever done before. And I don't have to think about it, or plan it, or make it physically happen. So in completing, I'd just like to say, I think we're about to hit a home run. I think we're about to step into the arena of the real world that we said we'd bring to Earth. And I think we're all experts. And I encourage you all to wish one another a perfect life, perfect health, and a really, really magic future. Thank you.